Hello everyone, this is Jim Delapine, and I'm going to do this video demo for you to help you prepare for W3A2. Okay, so this is a sample of someone's sketch, and I'm going to do a variety of things here, and this will really help you get everything going for the next assignment. Okay, and this is an important demo here, so focus on this, and I'm going to first of all show you all of the images that the student took. I'm not going to mention any names. I don't want to embarrass anyone. All right, but these are really good images. The student was smart, had a contrasting background that will simplify things. You will have some issues here and there with shadows, for example, but we can get around that. It'll just take some work. All right, so the first thing you want to do is this. You want to first create your end result file. So Control N, and I'm in the Windows environment, so I'm going to use the shortcuts for the Windows, which is Control. Okay. If you're in the Mac environment, of course, it'll be Command, as you already know from the shortcut sheet that I sent out to you, and I know everyone's paying attention to that. Okay. All right. So first of all, let's create a new document. Okay. So the end result size, make sure that this says inches. Okay. And the width is 8 inches, and I'm going to tab down to 10 inches. So it's 8 by 10 by 300 pixels per inch. Okay. We're going to work with RGB as opposed to CMYK. All right. Just for viewing purposes, just know that anything that gets printed in the end must be CMYK. All right. Stands for cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. All right. Those are inks that they use. So anything that ever gets printed, just as a side note, needs to be CMYK. RGB, or red, green, and blue, is only for viewing purposes or anything that will be posted up to the web. All right, so I'm going to hit OK. Doesn't matter what the background color is. And that is your end result file. Okay, so I'm immediately going to save that. All right, so I'll do a save as, and I'll save that as my last name underscore W3A2. And okay, so we know how to save the document. All right, so this is what I will be referring to at all times. So I'm going to go back to my first sketch here, and I'm going to do this. So there's a number of ways you can combine these files. I'm going to show you both ways, or an assortment of ways. So I'm going to hit Control A to select all, Control C to copy. Okay, then I'll go back to my final tab and hit Control V to paste. It needs a little bit of scaling, okay? And so I'm going to hit Control T for free transform. That will put a bounding box around all of the opaque pixels on that layer, which is the image. All right, so if you move this, you can see that this image falls outside of the viewing area. So I'm going to go to any corner, click and start dragging it in towards the center to scale it. And then as I'm dragging, my mouse is still held down. I'm going to hold down Shift to constrain the width and the height as I scale. And if I also hold down Alt, so Shift and Alt is held down along with my mouse, that will scale into the center point, just so you know that. Okay, so I'm going to guesstimate at something like that and hit Enter to apply my transformation. Okay, so that's, I wanted to scale that to size to fit within my area here. So just know that your final character needs to fit within 6 by 8 inches. All right, so it's 6 by 8 inches within an 8 by 10 inch document. So what you can do is set up guidelines. Okay, so Control R for rulers, and by default 0 will come in at this point right here. So the ruler starts 0 here, 0 here. So I'm going to drag over a guideline by clicking and dragging, and drag over to the 1 inch mark, and drag into the 7 inch mark over here, and drag down to the 9 inch mark here, and the 1 inch mark here. So your end result character has to fit somewhat within that area. So this is fine. I'm going to also suggest this background cactus-shaped pancake that will be eliminated. So we're not going to include that. All right, so I can move my image around within here. So I'm going to use this as my basic guideline. Okay, so I'll go to the first image here. So before I copied and pasted, You can also simply drag and drop that image. Now let me go back to this pancake, the spatulas here, and just close out of the document and talk about this. Some of you had mentioned that you took photographs with your digital camera, but it's coming out low resolution, 72 pixels per inch, and I wanted to talk about that. So let's look at the image size here. With digital cameras, all right, I'm going to change the resolution here, and my resample image box is unchecked. Notice that this is this image. Let me hit OK to that. So let me go back to image size. So most cameras will do this. They'll give you a very large physical size. All right. So this image is actually 32 inches, more than 30, almost 33 inches wide by 44 inches high, but the resolution is 72 pixels per inch. Okay. So that means if you printed this image out, and I believe I noted this before, this image will be extremely large, almost 3 feet wide by almost 4 feet high, but it will be low resolution or low quality. Okay, so what we need, we don't need an image that size. Okay, so we can do a trade here of pixels for physical size. So I'm going to type in 300, right, and my end result size will be perfect for what we need. Okay, it's actually larger than what we need. Okay, so I'll hit OK. Now let me make note of this. Watch what I'm going to do here. I'm going to, first of all, with my move tool active, I'm going to drag this image on top of my final document here. All right, once it pops up, my cursor is still held down. I'm going to come down anywhere on the document, hold down the Shift key, and then let go with the mouse. Holding down the Shift key will mathematically center that image. Okay, if I didn't have it held down, not a big deal. All right, if I didn't have it held down, it would come out off to the side. You could just simply drag and drop it. Well, drag it over to the anywhere in the document here. All right, so there's a fork. There's not any forks here that are bent, but actually, I think they're no. Someone else had a bent fork. That's right. For garbage dump Dan. So what we're going to do is we want to scale this to match this. So one quick way just to get started here would be to go to my lasso tool. And since I'm going to work with this fork here, I'm going to put a rough selection around this, all right? And I will immediately apply a layer mask, okay? With that selection active, all I have to do is hit that, okay? Bam, I have my layer mask. Now, this is what's required of you. Every image must have a layer mask so that when I go into the final project or when I go into next week's project, I'm going to right-click on this layer mask and select Disable Layer Mask. I need to see that whole image, okay? And there's a reason for that, all right? They call this non-destructive editing. It means you can change your mind. It means you can make a mistake and go back in and repair it simply by painting on the layer mask. This is a very important concept to understand, non-destructive editing, okay? So now what you're going to do is, let me just zoom back out. I'll hit Control-0 and hit Control-T, all right, with that layer active. And I'm going to rotate this and just try to roughly match it to this size. So I'll go to my corner bounding box, click and drag in, hold down Shift to constrain and Alt to scale into the center point. All right, I'll let go with my mouse first. If you don't let go with the mouse first and let go of the Shift key first, it will jump out of constrainment. Okay, so then I'll drag this up to approximately where I want it. Now check this out. I can go back and forth and scale this, but if I put the tip of this fork right about where I want it, which is right here, I can change the center point. All right, so in the center of this bounding box is this center point here. I'm going to click and drag that up to this point right here. All right, what does that mean? It means when I scale, it will scale into that point. So this area won't move, but this bottom here will scale down. So I'll go back out to my corner bounding box, click, start dragging in again, Shift to constrain, and Alt to scale into that center point. And notice how the top's not moving, but the bottom is, and I'll really get the exact size that I need. All right, I'm letting go with my mouse and letting go with the keys. I'm letting go with the Shift and Alt key, and then I'm hitting Enter to apply that transformation. I can go back to my Move tool, or I can hold down my my control key, which would give me access to the move tool. So whatever tool you're active in, if you hold down the control key, you'll get the move tool. All right, that can come in very handy. So I'll position that there. Okay, so that's set. All right, so now I'll go to my next file. All right, I have all these here. I may just want this star here. Okay, so I will copy this, Control C, go to my final document, and here's the star right here, Control V. It's nice and big, which is great. I love to see that. And then I will go to my Lasso Tool, and let me show you a trick here. In the Lasso Tool, you can get access to 2 tools in one by holding down a specific key. All right, I want to get access to the Polygon Lasso Tool. The Polygon Lasso Tool allows you to click, click, click to create these like rubber bands, okay? So with the Lasso Tool active, I'm going to click and start dragging, then hold down the Alt key, or the Option key if you're a Mac user. All right, so now I have this rubber band kind of thing. All I have to do is click, 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 click. Okay, so I'm clicking, and then when I get to the end, I'm going to let go of the Alt key, and I have a selection. I will then click on the layer mask icon, and I have my layer mask, okay? So the idea is now to scale everything, and this kind of makes it quickly an easier thing to do. Control T, click, start dragging in, hold down Shift and Alt, and I'm going to guesstimate at the size, bring it down here. I can rotate it, hit Enter to apply, and there's my star. I may want to name these as I go along. Now, let me also talk about what to do now. Okay, so you basically get the idea as to what I'm talking about. All right, you'll basically do this, well, not basically, you will do this for every single one of your images that you took. Okay, so let's go back here. Now, when all is said and done, you need to fine-tune this. You need to go in here and cut out the star. All right, so this is one of my favorite tools, okay, the quick selection tool. So this student was smart and has a lighter background. What you want is contrast, because this tool reacts to contrasting pixels and makes things very easy. So if I click and drag, all right, bam, and let go, that instantly selected that star. And you, if you remember back to week 1, so assignment 1A2 with the shells and all that, I believe that this tool was used. All right, so it's not always perfect, but if you have, it depends on the image, okay? If you have contrasting pixels, it'll work beautifully. Now, if I zoom in, I'll see that it did not pick up something. So I'm going to reduce the size of my brush. So that's the left and right bracket keys. All right, I could go up here and click on the drop-down menu and, you know, do this kind of thing, or I could use the shortcut of using the left or right bracket keys to decrease or increase the size of my brush. So left bracket key, reduce down, and then with the Alt key held down, just remember the Shift key essentially does 2 things. It adds to and constrains. Okay, so the Alt key will do 2 things. Essentially, it will subtract from and duplicate. So with the Alt key held down, I want to subtract this little section out here. So I'm going to click and drag. Actually, I could I could have just clicked. So Alt click. That didn't work. See, it always doesn't work perfectly. All right. So now, if you wanted to get this really perfect, you could go into the Lasso tool, for example. All right, I'm going to add to the selection now. All right, so if I hold down my Shift key and click and drag outside the selection, I'm adding to the selection. Okay, so this is that principle of adding to and subtracting from. If I want to subtract part of a selection, I'll hold down the Alt key, and whatever I surround will then be subtracted. All right, so this area here, it kind of extends beyond the star, so I will surround that area, and that subtracted it. If I wanted to add this little point here, I will hold down the Shift key, click and start dragging up, And as a matter of fact, I can also hold down the Alt key so that I get that Polygon Lasso Tool and click, 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 and surround the area I want to add to. Okay, so every single selection, every single element will have a different need. All right, so now I have my banana star. That's not a banana. I don't know what that is. It's a fruit. All right, so I have it selected, and it looks like a good selection. So what I'm going to now do is working with the layer mask now. Very important. You need to make sure that the layer mask is active. I'm going to show you a mistake to make. All right, you don't want to do this. If the image is active, all right, and then I hit delete, it's going to delete the image. Okay, so let me undo that. If I had the layer mask active, and now, actually I'll get a different result. If I hit delete, I'm essentially filling on the layer mask that selection with black. All right, but I don't want to confuse you about this. All right, so let me undo that. What I essentially want to do is fill everything but the star with black on the layer mask. All right, it's all about the layer mask. All right, so just make note of that. So with the layer mask active, not the image thumbnail, the layer mask thumbnail active, I want to inverse the selection. Shift F7 will inverse the selection. All right, how do I know that? If I hit Control 0 to fit my document in the window, I can see that the selection goes out to the edge here. So now everything else but the star is selected. If I hit Shift F7, just the star is selected. All right, so I want the opposite. I want to fill everything else but the star with black on the layer mask. So Shift F7. I missed my key here. All right, so Shift F7. Now with the layer mask active, I'm filling that area with black. Okay, so I'm going to make black my foreground color and use the shortcut of filling with the foreground color, which is Alt or Option Delete. Bam. Okay, so you now have your shape accurately cut out using a layer mask. This has to be done for every single element. All right, there are reasons why you may want to change your mind. All right, and you won't know until the time comes. You don't want to delete pixels, believe me. Okay, so if you do, you'll need to bring that image in and start over. Okay, that's a definite requirement here. Now, let's talk about the fork. The fork may be a little trickier. Okay, so I'm only going to use these images because you'll get the basic principle. All right, so with the fork, we'll start out with using the quick selection tool. So I will click and drag up. All right, and I can let go. All right, so that did pretty well. I'll hit my space bar to click and drag down. And then by default, this is in the Add to Selection option. Okay, so if I click and drag up, all right, I have a small brush size, so I have to click and drag. So if I clicked, it will click smaller areas, you know. Well, actually, it did a pretty good job there. I'm clicking again, click, 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 click. Okay, as you can see, it selected a little bit too much, but actually this guideline may be getting in the way. It tends to snap to selection, so I'm going to go to View, Show, and hide the guides. Okay, so so this is a little bit of a tricky area here. So here's what we're going to do. I want to show you how you can fix that. All right, so this is something called Quick Mask. You'll be learning this in the up-and-coming lessons, all right? And I believe it's the next one, but I'm not sure. All right, so Quick Mask, this is the icon for it right here, okay? If I click on that icon, I get this ruby lith color of red go over the whole image, okay? So this is a way of using a paintbrush to create a selection, okay? I'm going to go back into the quick mask options for this. All right, so this is an important part of learning how to select items, which is essential. And you'll be learning this in the very near, this next assignment, I believe. All right, so you're going to double click on the quick mask icon and notice the default here. The default is the color is red. You have masked areas and it's at an opacity of 50%, which means that that red color is being seen at 50%. Okay, so I'm going to click on the selected areas. I can change the color if I want. I could make this any color I want. All right, red is fine for this, but you would want to change the color. Let's say you're cutting out something that is a red apple. All right, you may want to change this to a blue or a green so you could see the image better. Okay, so but red is fine for this. So I'll hit OK. All right, then when I go into quick mask, everything else, the fork is red based on our selection option on that radio button in the quick mask. And now what I'm going to do is use a paintbrush to edit this selection. So this is really a selection that we're seeing, but it looks like a red overlay. So if I hit the quick mask again, I see that. Click it again, it's that. So this color is actually a selection. Okay, so I'm going to use a paintbrush to edit that selection. So with my paintbrush active, you want to make sure that your hardness for the paintbrush is at 100%. Very important. Okay, otherwise you'll get a blurry edge. Okay, so so that's good. I'll click up here to collapse it. Now, if I paint with black on the quick mask, whoops. All right, black is my foreground color. All right, make sure it's pure black. All right, I'm creating a selection right now. So if I click on the quick mask, bam, that's a selection. Okay, click it again, you have that. To delete that, you would now paint with white. All right, if I exit quick mask, I have that. All right, so that's the basic premise of quick mask. You're using a paintbrush to create a selection, and it can come in very handy. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'll quickly enlarge my brush, hitting my right bracket key. All right, paint over that. Zoom in. All right, swap my foreground and background colors by clicking on this little double arrowhead or hitting the letter X. That will toggle you back and forth. All right, I'll reduce my paintbrush size, left bracket key. All right, now, all right, so what I want to do is make my foreground color white. So X and white will get rid of this, okay? So I need to get the correct paintbrush size, so I'll select that. Now, you could try to do a straight line, all right, with your hand if you have a mouse, but your hands will cramp up and you'll eventually get carpal tunnel syndrome. So I'm going to show you the easy way to do this. I'm going to click once and I'm looking at the outer edge of my circle. Click once, then come down here and rest the edge of my circle right against this fork here because I see I have a straight line here, all right? And I'm going to hold down the Shift key and then click. All right, with the Shift key held down, I'm going to continue to click, 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 and you can go around these small arcs here, right here like this. All right, click, 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 and come up here and click, click, and then I'll let go of the Shift key. All right, so I've very easily created these straight lines. So if I click here, hold down my Shift key, come down here and hold down the Shift key and click again, I've gotten rid of that. If I exit quick mask by clicking on that, I have my selection. Okay. Another easy way to exit quick mask is to simply hit the letter Q. Q brings you in and out of quick mask. Not Command Q, not Control Q, but Q. All right. Control Q or Command Q would mean quit the application. All right. So again, I'll come over here, click, Shift click, click. And the Shift key is held down now, so you can go around these small arcs. Okay, click, Shift click, and bam. All right. So, you know, when it comes up to these little points here, you know, of course you want a small brush size. If I want to fill this in, I would swap my foreground and background color, X, and click and Shift click. come back here, let go of the shift key, click, hold down the shift key, shift click, okay? So there you go. So now I would exit quick mask, I'm hitting Q, inverse the selection, shift F7, make sure that my quick mask icon is active, okay? Take your time on doing this, okay? You just want to remember, this thumbnail has to be active, and then you're going to fill all of this with black to mask it out. Alt, delete. All right, so you can see the procedure as you go along, I think that should set you up very nicely for the next assignment. And I hope you guys benefited from this, okay? Take care. Bye.